Hello, good afternoon from Dhaka, Bangladesh. This is Munira Sultana Poppy, welcoming all of our international audience to our program. So thanks for joining us, Mr. Philip Giorgio. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How about yourself?
Yes, great going. So we are very happy to have you on our international platform, and thanks a lot. Today we're gonna know about the topic resilience in times of adversity. I have a great honorable, our learned personality, Mr. Philip Giorgio from Oman, therapist, founder of Vibrant Souls. Welcome you once again. Please share your introduction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. As you said, my name is Philip Giorgio. I'm a Greek citizen. I come from Greece. I currently live in Oman.
Okay.
So basically, I am a life and business coach. I am an energy healer. I am a sound therapist. I am a meditation and mindfulness instructor. And at the same time, I'm a motivational speaker. My basic background was engineering. And then I studied communications, public relations, and marketing. I ended up working in the corporate world for a long, long time. And then I moved away from the corporate world and I started my mission, which is to help and support people find happiness and joy in their life. And so I conduct regular classes, seminars, online Zoom calls, webinars, in order to support people and help them find better ways into happiness.
Okay. That's great of you that you are providing marvelous service to the world. And how you want to help more?
How I want to help more is help people like yourself. When you put me in touch with other people that I don't know in different parts of the world, and then my message reaches more people, and I hope to trigger in them the desire to move forward in a positive way in their life.
Wow, that's a great way to serve our international community that you are working. So I have a question for you, that can you please shed light on today's topic, that how to be resilient in adversity. Please help ourselves to know more about the topic today.
Great, thank you. So what we're going to talk about today is resilience, and specifically resilience in difficult times, in hardship times, in times of adversity, or in times of difficulty, and also in times of uncertainty. So let's first start by defining resilience. What is resilience? Resilience is our ability to handle difficult situations, our ability to face difficulties, issues, problems in our life with confidence and effectiveness. It's also the ability to recover our mental health in terms of facing problems or issues or obstacles. So what we need to say here is there was no time in the history of mankind where our resilience has been put to test the way it is put to test today. See, in the past, a long, long time ago, when we were just cave people, the cave people had no worries except two things: putting a roof on top of their head and securing food. These were the only two sources of stress and anxiety in their life. Today, the sources of anxiety are unbelievably numerous. We get stress and anxiety, and we get triggers of anxiety every time, every minute, every hour, every day of our life. Whether it is our personal health, which we are concerned with, our emotions, our relationships, our mental health, the world around us, the news that we get, the data that bombards us every day, everything has become adversity. everything has become a source of stress and anxiety. And this is why our resilience is being put to test nowadays in a way that has never happened before. So if we wanted to keep, enhance, strengthen our resilience, there are many different ways. One of the essential ways to build good resilience, and if we have resilience, to enhance and strengthen that resilience, is called the skill of response. The skill of response. You see, we all have, at every moment, triggers of reaction. Something happens and we react. Something else happens and we react. Now, the things that happen which we react to are of two kinds. There is the outside world and there is the inner world. So the outside world consists of a lot of influences on us. Nobody lives isolated anymore. You're in permanent touch. You have social media, you have emails, you have people that you talk to, you have the telephone, you have the television, you have the computer. Everything gives you information and data and triggers to which you respond. And as I said before, you can respond to situations in terms of relationships, in terms of career, in terms of news around you. Look what happened in the last 2 years with COVID-19. That was a huge test of resilience. Okay, this is all the external forces, but there are also internal forces. When you, Munira, wake up in the morning in a wrong mindset, then you might have a negative thought. Right. And the negative thoughts are of three kinds. They could be negative thoughts related to the past, negative thoughts related to the future, or negative thoughts related to the present. Usually they're all related to the past or to the future. So when you have a negative thought about the past, you remember something that happened in the past or did not happen. You remember an event of the past. You remember something that you regret, that you should not have said, that you should not have done, that should not have happened to you. And then you feel remorse and you feel fear and shame and guilt. All these things happen because your thoughts are taking you to the past. This is a trigger. How do you react? With your emotions. Same thing happens about the future. You expect things to happen, you anticipate things, you don't know what's going to happen to your life, to your work, to your relationships, to everyday life. Are you going to secure enough money? Are you going to have enough to save? All these things will trigger your emotions. When we react with our emotions, they tend to overwhelm us. And our emotions are rarely under our control. So let's say you're driving a car and you get into an accident. You're going to react spontaneously with your emotions, and those emotions will take over. They will decide how you react. You don't decide how you react. And this is why we distinguish between the skill of reaction and the skill of response. Reaction is spontaneous reaction with the feelings, with the emotions, and those are rarely helpful. You hear bad news, you react. You are unfairly criticized, you react. You are offended by something that happened, you react. You are embarrassed by something that is said or happened to you, you react. You are told something that you don't want to hear, you react. 10 days ago in Oman, here where I live, we had a huge typhoon. And it hit the country in many different ways. And people reacted spontaneously with emotions. I am fearful, I am scared, what's going to happen? Is my house going to stand? Will water come into my house? Are they going to cut the electricity? Where would I get food? Can we still walk in the streets if they're flooded? All these were emotional reactions. So what can be done about reaction that will strengthen our resilience? It's called the space. What is the space? The space is the time between the trigger, what happened, what was told, what event took place, and the reaction to that. So the time between those two, you decide. Let's say somebody told you something that you don't like, or somebody did something that was offending to you, or there's an event that you heard about that is not good, or your thoughts took you somewhere which is not helpful to you, you don't react immediately. You use the space. You say, I'm going to use that space. During that space, or in the interval between the trigger and the response, you decide how you're going to respond. When you decide how you're going to respond, then you take back control of your life. Then you decide how the best response is going to be, rather than letting your emotions take over and outbursts and overwhelming, and then you react with your emotions. That's not helpful at all. So using the space will allow many things to happen. First of all, you don't have to react immediately. Nothing is obliging you or forcing you to react immediately. Secondly, you take back the control. You react using your brain, not only your emotions, using your brain. When you use your brain, the reaction is much more effective, much more to your advantage, much more yielding peace and happiness. The reaction with the emotions cannot be a happy one, because you're going to regret what you said. You're going to regret what you did. You're going to regret the way you have reacted. Whereas if you react appropriately and then create a response rather than a reaction using the space, you have been able to use your brain and then adequately respond. You might decide to respond, you might decide to do something, or you might decide to say nothing or to do nothing. But that's your decision. That's your control. This is called using the space. Somebody once said, somebody very famous once said, that space between the trigger and your response determines the quality of your life.
Wow.
The quality of your life is determined by your ability to use the space between trigger and response. Now, how do we achieve this? How do we achieve this? By practice. So you say, the next thing that's going to happen to me, I'm not going to react. You go back home and your father says something, or your husband says something that you don't like. You don't react immediately. You say, no, I'm going to use the space. Use the space. So you decide, no, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to respond when my brain has been utilized for the best and most effective way to respond. Okay. Now, sometimes you don't have time. Sometimes you don't have enough time. I was using the example of you getting into an accident. What happens then? Instead of jumping out of your car and screaming and shouting and crying and insulting the person who hits you, you're going to say, I'm going to take a deep breath, use that very short space to say, no, let me go down and quietly observe what has happened to my car, the damages, and then decide with the gentleman or the lady who hit me to call the insurance company with all calmness, and to bring the insurance company, the police, whoever is in charge, to make notes of the accident and then take the adequate steps. So you always have the opportunity to use the space. And this is what I encourage everybody to do. Do not react immediately with your emotions. Acquire and strengthen your ability to respond effectively and using the space. This way we build resilience. This way, Munira, we build resilience. This way we build our strength to handle any and all situations that happen to us. So that's what I wanted to say about resilience.
Wow. And I have a question, that how long actually this space should be taken for? That how long the standard is space time?
Okay, it all depends on the situation. If you go to a doctor and the doctor gives you bad news about your health, of course you're going to react emotionally because that's bad news about your health. But then you take the space and to say, what am I going to do about this situation? What measures am I going to take to correct the situation, to get out of this situation of unhealthiness, to get back into health? And if, God forbid, you can't get back into health, full health, how am I going to use my time until then? So they can use the space. You can take all the time to plan your life from that day onward and see how you're going to do the best to live with the condition that you're in. And some other times the space is very short, as I mentioned earlier, like somebody yelled at you and you need to give back a response, or somebody, like your boss gives you an assignment that you don't like, or your boss gave you an evaluation that you don't like, then you need to answer, let's say, within an hour, within 2 hours, or you need to write back an email, challenging what was found or calling somebody. So you measure the space according to the incident itself. How serious and how urgent is the incident or the obstacle or the adversity that happened to you before you respond. There is no standard, but your judgment call on this will be your best guide. The brain has the ability to judge and decide everything. If you allow it, if you tone down your emotions and allow the brain to come in, the brain has all the ability that is needed to judge and decide.
Wow, how beautiful. So, my dearest leader, Mr. Philip Georgiou, if it is so simple, then why our people are not adopting this great habit of space? Why? What do you think?
Because probably they don't know about the ability to use the space. They just let go of their emotions. For them, it's a reaction that is normally based on what our emotions dictate.
Mhm.
It's a very simple message. Do not allow your emotions to take over immediately. Take the time to think through and then provide a response. They don't know. We need to inform them. And that's why we have wonderful people like yourself who have platforms that are going to reach more and more people and inform them of all these good news.
Great, superb. So when you have developed this method of a space, that when you have learned and how you have learned?
So when you have developed the notion of space, you have to practice. It's a skill.
Mhm.
If they come to you now, today, Monira, and they put a piano in front of you and say, can you please play Beethoven's Ninth Symphony? You will say, no way, I don't know. I need to practice and practice and practice, and maybe one day I can play the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. But the ability to use the space and respond skillfully is also acquired by practice. So allow yourself to practice on a regular basis, not to react spontaneously with your emotions to situations, allowing yourself to think through before responding. And it's a skill that is acquired. And once it is acquired, it becomes a natural reflex. You no longer need to think about this because the thought will come automatically. This has happened. My brain tells me this, okay? My emotions are overwhelming, but I'm not going to let them. I'm going to take the space. I'm going to think. And my effective decision is not to respond or to respond this way or to say this or not to say anything. That will be the work of the brain. And that will be fantastic because the brain will know exactly what needs to be done. And all this will yield to what? Happiness, joy and happiness. No regrets, no fear, no shame, no guilt, happiness.
Superb. And how beautifully you have explained to be resilient in adversity. And you know, my leader and my great educator, in this pandemic period, we have really suffered a lot. We have gone through the greatest test of every time. I should say that it was a difficult test for us, the mankind, whole nation, the world has gone through a difficult and very terrific time, as you know. And we have lost many lives, our own people. And we didn't know how to really take care, how to be away from this great damage. And you have shared a brilliant way to lead a happy life. The space, superb. And I felt it with heart, and the marvelous people like you should come forward and to help our people to grow more. Like, you know, my leader, there is one term that we all know, emotional intelligence. And I think this is the one and supreme level of intelligence. Don't you think so?
I totally agree. And the space is used for emotional intelligence because you're not going to say, I don't have emotions. I am a human being. So of course I have emotions. I'm going to use my emotions intelligently by having my brain interfere into the emotion and decide what is good for me and what is not good for me. like the case of the pandemic, which you mentioned earlier. How did we react to the pandemic? I am fearful. What God, what's going to happen to us? Who's going to die in the family? What's going to happen here? What's going to happen? Instead of doing all that, the way to react to the pandemic with the space is to say, okay, we have a pandemic. Am I responsible for the pandemic? No. Can I do something about stopping the pandemic myself? No. Will I be able to have millions of people avoid the pandemic? No. But what I can do is protect myself, is protect my family, is protect the people around me that I care for. If everyone reacted this way, everyone would have from the day one used the masks, wash their hands on a regular basis, not mix with people they don't know, the pandemic would not have spread the way it has. But nobody used the space. The space was there to allow people to react by making a distinction between I can control, I cannot control. Whatever is in my control, I will control, which is to protect myself and my close ones in times of pandemic.
Superb, marvelous, and wonderful lesson from a brilliant educator and leader from you, my dearest Mr. Philip Georgiou. You are originally from Greece.
Correct.
And you are living in Oman. I think you are a living legend of this world.
That's very kind of you.
Who is educating this world with the upper level of consciousness to have the space to let our brain work and help ourselves more in a great way. So this is seriously a marvelous way of service. We have decided to work for our people, to help our people. And please accept our great gratitude from the heart of Bangladesh, my country. We love you a lot. And you helped us to grow and to be educated in terms of learning, to have this quality space in our life. Do you like to say something in your final message to the world and our international community, please?
I just want to tell the international community that no matter what happens, there is always hope. No matter what happens, there's always a way to handle our difficulties, our obstacles. We have unbelievable resources. Our brains, our physical body, our emotions, our spiritual self, our soul have great, great powers. It's all up to us to use them and to use them appropriately for our happiness.
Superb, gorgeous, and so brilliant. Thanks for joining us today. And it was eye-opening lesson today that you have shared your speech. And my dearest viewers, as you know, this topic will be covered as a premiere on YouTube very shortly. And of course, I will welcome you, Mr. Philip Georgiou, in another session to share how to be happy, the project happiness. And my dearest viewers will be happy to know the term, how to be happy, how to be really happy inside and to help other people. When you are happy, you can help more, isn't it, my leader?
Of course.
When you are happy, you can serve better, like Mr. Philip Georgiou is doing, because he is happy and he is taking great care of himself and he is helping our international community. Thanks a lot for joining.
My pleasure.
We'll have you in another session very shortly. Till then, take care and please accept our gratitude, my dearest leader. Assalamu alaikum. Signing out from Dhaka, Bangladesh. I was connected to Mr. Philip Georgiou, who is staying in Oman, originally from Greece. Thanks a lot. One more time. See you. Bye-bye.